Good evening, everyone, and welcome. It is day 8, 11, 14th. It is the 14th of May, 2024, and I want to thank you guys for all being here. We're going to jump in tonight. I am still alive. Everything is good on that. Let me do this. Heather Wiley, how did CrossFit go? Still kicking, and I'll be back tonight. Ronnie Vrinken there. Just a couple of comments get going. Good to have you here. Making some food. Getting ready for some truth telling of the Hope Train. Thank you for that. Papa Dutch, got you, buddy. One's waiting for pickup. One already received. Correct. Thank you. I want to give a shout out tonight to Dr. Tuso. Huge supporter of the pro-Ukrainian community there in Germany. I think you're Germany. Pretty sure. And there's a message to Professor Gertis from Robert Lockhart. Hello, Professor Gertis. And he can say good back to you. Here he is, everybody. Not that one, that one. There you are. All right, there's no reason I shouldn't have you if I do that. Welcome.
I don't know that I'm actually streaming on my channel, your channel. I don't think it's streaming through. I see me.
Did you do the same setup?
I thought I did,
Okay.
but maybe I didn't.
I got the notification that you're streaming.
Okay. Well, if you're on my channel, do you just see me or do you just see Greg and I? So
I'm going to your channel right now and I'll tell you. Yes, it's your stream. And I'm sending another stream, so don't worry about it.
So do I need to end this, or are you going to override somehow, or how do we do this?
Well, I have no idea.
Okay, well.
I know that I am streaming to you. So
can people in my stream hear me?
Yeah.
Can they hear Greg? That's what I'm asking. Okay.
Okay, so I hear you.
Yeah, they can hear you at least, even if they can't see you. Okay, well, we'll talk. I mean, I've only got like 20 minutes anyway, but
yeah,
we can talk.
So guys, what we're going to be doing for our next fundraiser is we're going to be raising funds for Professor Gertis to take a class, Streaming 101, and how to co-stream. So
I have a question for you. I saw something on Twitter. I don't know if you know anything about this, but it said OPSEC next 48 hours, please follow, from a NAFO fella. Do you know anything about that?
I know right now that the war is brutally difficult up in the north, on the east, and the south on all fronts. And we're going to talk about it. But when you have Budanov going to Kharkiv and then rotating over to Sumy, everything is critical right now. You and I were talking on the phone earlier, and I have, if you guys only hear me on Professor Gertis's channel, you can come to mine. He doesn't care.
Whichever. I mean, we're just trying to make sure
somebody on your stream going, Terry isn't saying much.
So Terry isn't saying much.
They can't hear me on your channel.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you know what, guys? I'm going to kill my stream and everybody go over to Greg. So if you're here, please go over to Greg. Just do that now. I'm sorry about that. We're trying to make it convenient by co-streaming, but okay. So I'm going to kill it. Thank you for coming for 5 minutes.
Come over here.
But that's what we're going to do. All right. All right. Thank you. Okay. So how about that?
So, and they'll pop over here. Hey, Dick Dawson, how are you, buddy? Nice to see you. Yeah. So when you see these things happening, and I've got a lot to cover in talking about that, I can tell you right now, the border situations are tough up north. Zhenya and I spent a lot of time talking this afternoon, and the war is very difficult right now. In fact, it's very deja vu-ish of 2022, when the Russian army was building up on the east and nobody really was expecting an invasion. They were expecting war games, maybe a little incursion, but no war. And here
Yeah.
we are. For example, why am I having deja vu? Because I just got off the phone call with Zhenya, who's telling me that refugee centers are reopening right now all over the country. That hasn't happened in 18 months. Opening, meaning they're expecting those refugees to come. It's a challenge right now,
So
but we'll get
yeah,
into
so
that.
there is, and I think looking back at the history is a valuable thing to do, and it doesn't hurt any operational security if we were worried about anything like that. Like, as I was preparing for my three big stories kind of thing, I wasn't worried about anything because I talked about the new defense secretary, and I played a clip of 5 minutes of you talking about it because you were confirming some of the things that I was reading about, and
Mm-hmm.
so. Yeah, I think there's no harm or foul there, but like how 2 years later you didn't have that in place? That's come on, guys.
Okay,
Like,
so let me give an update. Zhenya called me. We've had a lot of
mhm,
chat. For those of you popping over from Professor Gertis's channel or you're new to my channel, Zhenya is my partner inside Ukraine. 10 months on the front lines of this war, 26 years working inside Ukraine. Zhenya is the president of our nonprofit in Ukraine. He just had knee surgery. He's in recovery. He called me today. We talk every day, of course. We work together 24/7. But he says, Greg, the governor, regional governor in Kharkiv, yesterday when you were talking about him giving that speech and calling the contractors to task for why the defensive lines aren't placed properly in Kharkiv, he goes, listen, the defensive contractors are not going to get in trouble. The generals are getting in trouble. And make sure people understand it clearly. This is a military failure, not a corporate
mhm.
failure. There has been corruption. And listen, we tell the truth here. The defensive lines were not built properly. Because of that, Ukraine has had to call up reserves. Please hear me right now, everybody. I know for a fact, I cannot tell you from where, I cannot tell you who, but units on the south in very important battle positions are rotating to Kharkiv and Sumy this second, right now. That's all you need to know. When you hear Zelensky talking about yesterday, we're pulling up the reserves. Budanov tells us
Mhm.
today, there are no more reserves. The reserves are rotating troops from other locations of the front line and bringing in troops that have been mobilized or volunteered but are not yet fully trained. That's what we're dealing with, and that's why we're having OPSEC issues. For example, I
Mhm.
cannot tell where the group is coming from on the south. That would be
Mhm.
very bad,
Mhm.
but they're coming. So, south is more vulnerable. Let's do this.
So
No, go ahead.
yeah, I just how did we go this long without the fortifications being in place properly and nobody sounded an alarm? Now I read other things and okay, well, it would have been hard to put it on the front lines with Russians shooting at you. Okay, you can't shoot into Russia. Okay, but you know, somebody somewhere knew that this was or actually wasn't happening, and how do we get to a place where we had to get caught in the situation that we're in rather than that somebody somewhere would have
Okay.
let somebody know and
Because I, you, others have been a voice crying in the wilderness for my John the Baptist reference.
Mhm.
We made this a TikTok war. We kept saying Russia's going to run out of stuff. I've told you guys from day one, they will never run out of certain supplies. They've prepared for this for decades, but nobody wants to listen to that. They want to listen to Budanov in 2023 saying, we
Yeah.
will have Crimea by June.
Hey, yeah.
Now, today, the same Budanov we're in trouble. They're coming to Sumy. And I'm going to show you his quote.
Yeah, and
This,
that's all public information. Like
all public, all
it's
public.
very clear. Yeah.
Everything we share tonight's all public. I gave you guys information tonight just on a basic movement, but it's from south to north. You have no idea where. But there was a lot of hopium in this war yesterday, and we're going to go over this. The F-16s from Denmark. I said yesterday, everybody, please, I hope they come in 30 days, but I'm sticking by my guys who told me September.
Yeah.
And
I didn't even mention it because, when it hits the ground or when they actually fly in, that's the time to talk about it. Until then, another useless article is it will be here in X number of time.
Correct.
Okay, maybe.
All right, let's do this. This will help guide us. Right now, this is why I'm having deja vu. Right now, this is the emergency broadcast from the Lviv Power Company, power regulation. They had to do not scheduled blackout, but emergency shutdowns. And when they emergency shut down just a couple of hours ago, Lviv, Sumy, Volyn, Ivano-Frankivsk, Kyiv, Vinnytsia, Poltava, Mykolaiv, Dnepropetrovsk, and Khmelnytsky, those regions all are experiencing power shutdowns, not scheduled outages. Make sure you understand that. There will be and are scheduled outages due to lack of power in the grid and the inability to import the necessary levels of power. We're running into summer, air condition, refrigeration, all these things that have to happen require a lot of power. In the winter, Ukraine requires less power because a lot of the thermal power plants, and they run through these large boiler systems for these huge apartment buildings. But right now, I'm deja vuing to the first month of the war when all the regions were experiencing power shutdown, not outage. Make sure you understand, shutdown, because if they don't, they're going to burn their systems up and then they're really shut down. So they're precautionary shutdowns and get more power in the system. This is right where we're
so what
at.
I've been reading is something like they're pulling in power from Romania, Moldova, and 2 or 3 other countries. So they have a backup, but that's not a sustainable thing. That is a temporary. We can tide us over for a little bit. So I found that somewhat comforting that they could import that energy.
The amount of power
But
needed.
that's not a long-term solution or a sustainable solution by any means.
It's only May the 14th, and this morning in Khmelnytsky, it was 3 degrees. Wait until 38 degrees for you, Professor. 3 Celsius.
Wow.
38 Fahrenheit. You just wait till it's July and it's 95 degrees or 35 Celsius. They can import power, but they don't have enough capacity in the grid to system it out. And they're going to burn up whatever it's called, their capacitors or whatever, their capacity. This is why Lviv has been hit so many times over the last few weeks by those Kinjal missiles. This is what they've been hitting. And now
that's what they're going for.
This is what we're seeing. Now, Vovchansk military administration. I'm just going to play this because yesterday you started seeing the news. There's no Russian military in Vovchansk. They're not there. We pushed them out. We pushed them back. And everything I'm reading going, no, that's not true. So don't listen to me. Here is Vovchansk military admin. Right here. This one.
Battles are incessant, continuous bombardments, so the situation is extremely hard. I repeat again concerning the inhabitants of the city. We have been evacuating the populace for the 5th day presently. As many people as could have left on their own vehicles, but currently we are dealing with those residents who are not capable of leaving themselves. Thus, with the help of the National Police of Ukraine and the aid of the Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Affairs, together with the military administration, we are now taking steps to evacuate all residents. Mr. Tomaz, You just mentioned that the town is nearly completely destroyed. This essentially implies that those individuals who evacuated will simply have no place to return. Does the military administration have any plan concerning these displaced people? Well, we are currently evacuating all the residents of the city of Kharkiv, where they are getting registered, help is being provided, and those residents who have nowhere to go are being placed in dormitories in the city of Kharkiv.
So the translation there, and I'll fix it from the AI that helps me be quicker. The translation actually is we are evacuating them to Kharkiv, not from Kharkiv. So there's the perfect translation for you. So they're pulling them out of Vovchansk and the other villages on that northern side. Guys, Vovchansk, 18,000 people normally. What does Vovchansk look like today? Right here. This is drone footage. It's going to kind of be still and interrupted, and then it'll come back. I will geotag this for you. Right to the left of the white marker or target is a red building, and you see the tree line. This is just drone footage there. Above the 251 to the left, Vovchansk. Now it's flying a little bit. This is north central Vovchansk. Now I'm going to tell you guys right now what's happening. There are tanks as well on the northern side of Vovchansk, systematically leveling the houses right now. This is what they do. And they're there. I've got video talking about it in just a moment, but let me do this for Prof. He can see it as well. I want to show you guys. This is Johnny's map. This is all RU gains in the last. JR's in here probably, and huge help. I see some people saying refresh the stream. Let's see. Yeah, we're okay. Everything's working perfect. Back to here. So RU gains all through here. The border of Russia is here. So you can see. Now, what I want to show you, and then we'll get, this is Vovchansk. And you see this tree line here. And then you see this roof right here. This is what you were looking at. So what that's telling us is this region here under intense attack. And it's moving, of course, this way. And I'm telling you guys right now, there are tanks on these streets right here.
Yeah.
Systematically.
Let alone, I was reading something that said 3 to 7 bombs per minute. And it's talking about glide bombs coming in. And then the ISW was talking about how like the thing that Ukraine needs to do is stop the glide bombs from coming in. Like I'm not sure how they fix that without the F-16s or some kind of air defense artillery that, batteries that can be placed there to ward those planes off. But
without
that's what
F-16s,
they need, as far as I understand.
Without F-16s in air defense, not going to happen. And listen, okay, I talk to Ukrainians every day. I've spoken to 3 different Ukrainians today, not including Zhenya. When a Ukrainian sees yesterday Denmark saying 19 F-16s are coming and will be there within 1 month, and then it's retracted, it is extremely disappointing.
Yeah, I don't understand why they would say something prematurely and then retract. Like, you got to know, anybody with any sense of public affairs would know that they have to only say what they can be very certain about. But
it would seem very logical, sir. Very logical. But there's a lot in this war that's not. So that's the military admin. Now, I know we have a lot of people in my stream, particularly, I'm sure with Professor Gertis's channel, that are very concerned about animals. And we do support animals and canines and help for shelters, all of those things along the front line. And yesterday, when I was giving the first updates on Vovchansk and the other villages where Russia has had an incursion, advancement, I don't call it an invasion yet for me. Once they get past Vovchansk and keep going, it's an invasion. Right now, they're establishing a gray zone, which is actually a red zone now. But we'll see. I like to be slow to call it. I think it's an incursion. Once they're past a certain level, then invasion. Now, people are concerned about the animals. Here you go. This is Vovchansk.
Які хороші. Боже, Боже, скільки вас, бідосі.
Such a typical paint scheme with the green and the red. She's talking to her dog. Let's go, let's go. Now, I'm going to pause it there so you guys see they're working, but I want you to learn something else from this video. What is on that lady's head? A flashlight. They have no power. They have no power whatsoever in Vovchansk. So think about that as well. Very difficult. Additionally, extractions in Vovchansk. I'm going to play the video now of a girl who's been extracting, working with the military. This is the girl talking, and she's talking to a lady that was trying to help. She's a social worker trying to help people get out. She feels guilty. The AI translation's not the best, but overall pretty good. My team, we don't have time. So much video now to translate everything, but this is AI done, but it's close. And you can see and understand enough, and then she begins to talk about the tanks.
We've been riding like this all day for the third day in a row.
This is the reporter.
Since the first night I came here, there has been shelling. I arrived in Vovchansk, and there was shelling of the docks and everything. I started helping people who wanted to leave from 4 in the morning. Yesterday, 32 rockets flew over the city of Vovchansk, in addition to a lot of artillery, mortars, and MLRS. Everything is working in Vovchansk.
Meaning to get out. You can see the smoke, the evacuation.
We don't take these trips anymore.
So we can't take people from this section of the city anymore. That's the social worker.
How
the lady
far
in the
did
white
they
hair.
hit?
How close did the bomb hit to you?
70 meters from us, just a few houses down. There is a vague understanding of what it was. I have no idea, but they said the tank was working. The tank was working, he said, because it was very smooth. Not from above, but evenly. Most likely it got into a wheelbarrow.
A wheelbarrow took the shell. That's what she's meaning. It's Tatiana.
I request you to leave. They are incarcerated. I work in the social
People
protection field.
Not in prison. People can't get out.
To grandmothers who can take care of themselves. So if some have left, some inform me that not everyone has left. There is one bedridden, and Rumyantsev hasn't left at all. He's just lying. If no one goes to him, he will just take it. I wouldn't want to leave alone, to at least find out if people are leaving their own. What the hell? Everyone left and I left. The captain should be the last to leave the ship. And if he leaves first, then he isn't a captain. Although the girls write to me that you're still leaving. What the hell? You should be, well, no to help. If you stay there and you're not there, then what? And if my people are there and my workers are there, how can I pull it? I thought maybe they had already started writing on the internet about the armed forces of Ukraine affected, I think, ours. And they will succeed. Well, they will shoot a little, and we will continue to work. But now I don't know.
So what she's talking about there is her being a social worker, and she says, our leaders, not talking about the military, our leaders even left before us. And how can we stand if the captain leaves the ship first, but we stayed and kept helping, but now we can't help anymore. We have to go. And there's people bedridden and people sick that are laying there. And I hate to think about what will happen to them. The tanks are there. The flight comes in dead even and smooth. And we already know it. So that's why you see so much of the smoke in the northern side of Vovchansk, because they literally, and I've got video of an interview with this down south from a guy, a lot of early of my trips on the front line, some of the most incredible footage when nobody knew about our channel at all. I've got full interview with the guy who was sitting under the tank fire rescuing people. And he watched house by house by house by house be leveled by the tanks, and it will continue. So that's what they're doing, Professor. Leveling it.
Yeah, and I can only imagine this will continue as long as they're able to continue, and I'm not sure how it will be pushed back, or that it will be pushed back, or that it won't, let a gray zone just slowly fester into a red zone, as you were describing before. Short of having the appropriate weapons to be able to push back, I just don't see how they're going to be able to do it, which is somewhat sad.
They're not. Saw a video of the evacuations today, Alita. The sound of the incoming planes with their bombs are most frightening sound ever. Citizens so vulnerable, absolutely frightening. It's truth. M. Dow, will they manage to get the bedridden people out? No. Not on the northern side of Vovchansk now, or the villages that are taken. They will be occupied. It's this deja vu for me, guys, from the first month. This is exactly what happened the first month of the war. So last night I did this. I'm going to do this again tonight. No commentary needed. Here's Vovchansk today. That's a policeman. That's his patch on the right. Policia. They're doing their best. It's tough, man. Dunk on you 23. I'm going to answer your question right now. Greg, a lot of contrary information about defensive lines. Some, like you, say there aren't any, yet someday there is some. I'm not looking for an answer. Rather, it's confusing. Going to help you understand that right this second. This is, let me do this one first. This is a picture of north of Vovchansk. Sorry, north of Lipsk. I'm going to show you guys where this is. This is a picture right in this area. Where's this marker at here? Right there. That's where this picture is. Okay? Right there. You say, hold on, there's no tree, there's no leaves on the trees, Greg. You're giving us an old picture. Yes, I am. I'm giving you a picture on purpose from November 2023. There are also pictures, March 2023. This same intersection, geotagged, yellow and black pipe to the left, piled up. Dragon's teeth. Never deployed. Not one position built in this area. This is the picture today. That is the same intersection now, looking that way at that T. That's the trees that now have leaves on them, and you can see the dragon's teeth still sitting there. Now, if we go back to this year, and I will help you dunk on you 23, my Michael Jordan man. So I have told everybody, and I will repeat it again because it's a big story. We worked the entire front line. Mykolaiv and Kherson, massive defensive lines, 3 different tiers, Dragon's Teeth, all concrete barriers, everything like a fortress. From Kryvyi Rih to Zaporizhia, the same thing. 100%. Like, guys, some of this is 50 and 60 kilometers from the red line. These huge fortifications, Dragon's Teeth, 3 lines, anti-tank. Some of they're very wide anti-tank. The backside of Kharkiv, Novovelizhsk, in behind Pokrovsk. Same thing. This side of Donetsk, same thing. Meaning behind Kramatorsk. Kramatorsk and Konstantinivka have their own barrier due to height and the fortifications. So look at the defensive lines. Great. Chernihiv, 3 rows deep, massive fortifications. Sumy, I've been right on them. Perfect fortifications. Kharkiv. The fortification line is there. And it's not OPSEC. Russia knows much better than I know. They failed right there. They failed.
So failed, was it like Avdiivka and Bakhmut? We just didn't think that we would need them? Or
no, it's corruption in
worse?
The military. Period. Sorry. They were supplied. They were funded. Those generals have already been removed and rotated. They're not there. So you say, okay, well, that's one spot. But guys, when we have a weakness like that, Ukraine doesn't have millions of soldiers over here to reinforce. What are they doing? They're bringing guys this way. Now we hear about Sumy. We're rotating this way. Well, what's left? Weakened. Your hardest battle lines. Now we're getting to where the war of attrition does become a challenge, and Ukraine doesn't have as much supply. So that's the story there on the Dragon Teeth and the fortifications for you, Dunk on you 23. Now, this is Kharkiv. Kharkiv today struck, as it is every day, but I just wanted you guys to see this. This is a 16-story building, basically stories like 6 to 10 taken out. Of course, the building now, you can't live in it. Number of injured and traumatized people in Kharkiv increased to 21 this afternoon. 7 men, 11 women, 3 children injured in a residential building. And I will play you this. Here's helicopter footage. Pay attention to this. Really no audio. I'll talk over it, but it also gives you understanding of how big Kharkiv is. This is the garages at the base of that building. This is the Kharkiv government television media. This is typically also when the double taps happen. Guys are cleaning, doing their job. This is how we lost one of Pete's dearest friends, the firefighter. Now look at the size of that building. Just one of thousands. Look how much damage. They will collect every piece of rocket, analyze it. And I hate to tell you guys, but look at Yeah, there you go. You can start to see that's the apartment building hit. I've driven right past that. That's a very well-known apartment building in Kharkiv with the black and white and the cylindrical portion. Zhenya and I've driven right past that many times. We know the building. But you can see, you can get understanding of how big this city is. So fortunate so far, no one has died. So, you know, that's happening. I'm having deja vu. Sumy regional head, Vladimir Artyuk. This is the regional governor of Sumy, okay, north of Kharkiv. Here it is translated for you.
We receive this information, and in general, the Sumy military administration gets updates on the border situation from all possible sources. Certainly, on the contact line, this is crucial information to us, which you just pointed out. But the Sumy administration communicates around the clock with the military command and military units located in the Sumy region. The military administration is fully informed by the military command and relevant services available in the Sumy area, and based on this information, we act and make decisions accordingly for the protection of our population, like we just discussed in the case of the Bilopilia community, which started to suffer the most from shelling and the destruction of most of its territory. The infrastructure of this community along this border hasn't suffered more, so the military recommended, and we are implementing these recommendations. Last year, when the intensity was also high along the entire border, again, on the recommendation of the military, we introduced an evacuation in a 5-kilometer zone, so we promptly communicate information and we influence the implementation. These recommendations are supported by our communities. This information is communicated to the relevant communities to the full extent necessary for them in order to preserve the life and health of people.
So what I want you to pay attention to there, are you reading between the lines? He is continually referring to, we're listening to the military. We are talking to the military every day. We have a window now to evacuate people specifically from Bilopilia and Vorozhba. We are doing everything we're supposed to. When this happened last year, we evacuated the 5-kilometer zone. That regional administrator is doing properly. He's being very precise, working hand in hand with the military, and they're saving lives. Now, this, just so you guys know, this is right here. So this is right down there's the attack, invasion, incursion towards Kharkiv. This is Sumy, the city of Sumy, and he's saying the town of Bilopilia and Vorozhba are the two hardest ones that are being hit. And I shared with everybody on the stream last night when I talked about this. They're right here, Bilopilia and Vorozhba. But Tetkino is where the Russian Freedom Brigade went in and did their damage here. And now it's coming back. So what I want to see, though, is how far is Bilopilia, and I'll just do a rough right to the center of Bilopilia to the closest point on the red line. 10 kilometers. So once again, similar. And that's what we have there. But kudos, big kudos to the Sumy administrative head doing right. Now, as the thumbnail said, Budanov. Finally, I thank God, Budanov finally, in my opinion, is sharing how he should. No more hopium. Facts. General Budanov assessed that the Ukrainian forces would be able to shore up their lines, stabilize the front within the next few days, but he expects Russia to launch a new attack further north of Kharkiv in the Sumy region. I can tell you that's public information. Budanov was in Kharkiv yesterday and today he rotated. He's going to the Sumy region. Maybe you're out there going, how far apart are they like driving? If Zhenya and I leave the center of Sumy and we fly to Kharkiv, 3 hours, we're in the center of Kharkiv driving to Sumy. Now, here are Budanov's statements. We're expecting the Kharkiv push to stabilize in 3 to 4 days and then a full invasion to come via Sumy. Second, he said, the full war situation as a whole is on the brink. Every hour is critical. Third, he said, distraction at this point is happening, and we are also having logistical issues on Chasiv Yar, southeast, and southern fronts. Fourth, reserves are called in, but we are now out of reserves. Budanov. That is finally, I think that personally is what's needed to tell the truth.
How much of this is lack of mobilization, which we know is an issue, and how much of this is an unforced error that is based on the lack of ammunition for the 6-month delay?
So this is how I view it. The defensive lines not being built in Avdiivka started this cascade of dominoes.
Yeah.
Second, the derelict actions of nations around the world, led by mine and yours, in not supplying and playing political games, has messed them up royally. The reason, when they were not receiving arms, it was impossible to properly mobilize, because even the frontline soldiers were communicating backwards. Delay your mobilization, brother. Delay your mobilization, cousin. Delay your mobilization, nephew. We have no supply. Do not come here and die yet. Get the supply. Come help us fight. Now that took so long. It's just like this. It's just like this. Right here. Correction. Danish PM meant to announce F-16 in Ukraine within months. Not month. A source just clarified. Apologies. I will delete original tweet. Never knew that one letter is so powerful. The letter S, pluralizing month. So when Avdiivka was not defended properly, that goes back to Zaluzhny and regional leaders. Then Syrskyi comes in. Now we've learned that Kharkiv, north of it, not protected properly. Even with the shelling, it had ample opportunity. Ample. Work in the dark, work when the attention's somewhere else. It was a failure. And lack of supply. You put all those together, you have a problem.
Yeah, so there's a failure of leadership here, clearly. So in the management literature, we think about, like, if you're in charge and you one of your greatest obligations is to look down the line and make sure that you're seeing everything that can be seen and making sure that the equipment's coming and all those kind of things, right? Now, in contrast, in politics, you don't get credit for anything until something breaks and then you fix it. It's a whole different system. It's a perverse system. Like, if you are in politics and you prevented the war in Ukraine from actually happening, you don't get credit. Right? You might have done the greatest service to humanity possible, but you get zero credit. You only get credit if something becomes a catastrophe, as it is, and then you fix it. So it's a really
let me do this.
thing.
We got some really good comments. Really good comments here that are worthy. All comments are worthy of show. Well, not all comments. $5 super chat from Goose Springsteen. I fear the Ukrainian government also made a terrible decision not passing new mobilization laws last year because it was a poison pill politically. Goose Springsteen, sir, you are 1,000,000 correct. It's a day late and a dollar short. And not only that, they need to fix it because of abuse of power in some regions in regard to mobilization. But the mobilization should have been last year and very strict. Zhenya himself will tell you, a veteran medic since 2014 on Maidan, working with us. You guys know him, just having knee surgery. He said it. I would rather have had 2 weeks of hell in my country in November where the world accuses us of being vicious and mobilization monsters, and it all would have been fixed and done, and we would have a strong army fighting for our country today in May instead of dealing with what we're having to deal with. It's great comment. Dunk on you 23, slow roll stuff has to stop. Yeah. Mitch Ashdown. We don't know how many experienced Ukrainian troops are gone over the last half of year, short supply. A lot, I suspect. Brother, some of the best soldiers we have. Now, talking about mobilization, listen to this guy. I'm very appreciative for what he's saying right here. Here it comes. Former advisor of internal affairs. This is a military. He was Commander Andrusiv. Here's facts. This is the truth, guys, right here.
If you're a draft dodger, well, like, you deliberately ran away. Basically, you have no right to say that you're Ukrainian. You're a gypsy. You've chosen the gypsy life because when someone starts considering that draft dodgers who fled abroad, oh, they're so happy. Happy in what? That they'll be living in those containers all their lives. They'll only work menial jobs because they don't know the language, their qualifications. They don't understand other people who saved their lives by condemning themselves to disgrace.
And now it comes out. Finally. I know you guys here watching tonight, you may say, Greg, no, that's a little bit too harsh. No, it's not too harsh. This is what has been thought, and nobody's saying it. It's okay. Just go abroad, make some money, and send it back to Ukraine. Do this, do that. No, it's a problem. It's a major problem. And you can tell it's really starting to rub these frontline guys very, very difficult.
So going back to the mobilization, you can pay now or pay later. You're talking about going to the gym. Well, you got a choice. You can have short-term pleasure now. Well, we'll look at that, right? So you can have short-term pleasure now, or you can have short-term pain now that'll last a long time. You just have to choose. Pay it now or pay it later, and we took the later route. We kicked the can.
Really
appreciate
appreciate
in the United States with arms.
Yeah.
We did it in the United States with arms, and they did it with mobilization.
Yes. I really appreciate the comments in the chat right now saying, okay, finally, I agree with that guy. Finally, I agree with that guy. So thank you. Raven Loan, it's the same story. And now you're seeing the Ukrainian frustration about it. My body's good. I will be heading to the gym at the conclusion of the stream in just a few minutes. I want to get Professor Gertis's comment on this before we bolt out of here. This is the new Minister of Defense, Belosov, and he's an economist. In fact, Professor Gertis called me today. We probably had a 20-minute conversation just talking about the war and life and school and families. And guys, this guy is not a dummy. This is not Shoigu. This guy's an economist. You can say, oh, he's just a fascist in the Kremlin. That's fine. He's not a dummy. Listen to this. He's playing the game right. His first statement action was, we're going to take care of our SVO, not war, SVO veterans. And now today, he's talking very concisely about soldiers, but not mobilization. Just a couple seconds here. Listen to the difference between him and Shoigu talking.
The third issue is of a more systemic nature. We're discussing the recruitment of the AE of the armed forces. I specifically want to emphasize to journalists that we are not discussing mobilization about exceptional measures. We're talking about planned measures, but nonetheless, this process has already been launched as a call for citizens. So this contracting is especially important. And
so there you have it. To journalists, hear me. This is not mobilization. We're talking about standard contracts of the military. He's just being precise. And what about the war economy? What about the war economy?
I think this guy's incredibly dangerous because he is so I was making the point today, in an authoritarian regime, the currency is loyalty. And so Putin will put in a Shoigu because he's loyal, but he'll put this guy in because he's loyal. But you want to be loyal and have competence as well, if you can get it. And Shoigu just was not anywhere near the same level of competence. Now, Shoigu was one of the founders of the party that is the ruling party in Russia. And so he's an OG. He's been there for a while, but he's just not competent in that role. And this guy will be competent in that role, and that's bad for Ukraine, in my estimation.
Here you go. Last couple of things. Stretch asks, what does he know about war? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what he knows about war.
It's logistics and non-corruption.
Correct.
Those two things. If you can not be corrupt and do the logistics chain well, it's going to be very bad.
Very good answer. This is my concern about this guy. It's not Shoigu coming in for his bi-monthly report, sitting at the table with Putin, sipping on tea, going, well, the boys are doing good in Chasiv Yar. We're struggling a little bit in Kharkiv, but we'll take care of it, Vova. No, this guy is, excuse me, let me get the spreadsheets, let me get the statisticians, let me get the economists, and this is what we need to do. Different world. Last couple of things. Mark T. Esper. Mark Thomas Esper is an American politician, manufacturing executive, served as the 27th United States Secretary of Defense from 2019 to 2020 in the Trump administration, a member of the Republican Party, previously served 23rd U.S. Secretary of the Army from November 2017 to July 2019. Don't worry about Republican. Don't worry about who he served for. Just listen to his resume. West Point graduate. Esper joined the United States Army. He's a combat veteran during the Gulf War as an infantry officer with the 101st Airborne Division. Esper subsequently served in the 82nd Airborne Division and the Army National Guard. Okay, he has some experience. Here is his comment. It was translated and put on Russian TV as well today. This is where I got it from.
But the bigger argument coming out of Moscow right now is that Russia is moving to a war economy, and it's true. 7% of their GDP now is focused on defense. They're on a war footing. Arguably, the new guy being brought in is more innovative, and I build. So I'm sure more will come out in the following days. But this is an important move, and it's an interesting move. So it'll be.
So that's enough of him, but you can see it's the same. These are the people I like to listen to. It's not about political affiliations. There's some experience there, and he recognizes, okay, the new guy, that's a different deck of playing cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question. Yeah, the new guy is going to be good for what Russia is trying to accomplish and bad for Ukraine, because he will bring a certain level of competence and lack of corruption.
Last two things. Gerashenko, Anton Gerashenko, advisor to the office of president, May 15th, 16th, Putin scheduled, that's tomorrow, to visit China. We know that Xi was just in Europe with France and other nations. It's important for Putin to demonstrate that China is the most significant partner and ally for Russia. It's very likely he wants to ride this victory and create a victorious background for himself, et cetera, et cetera. And then Gerashenko said the coming days will be stressful, challenging, intense. Apply through May and June and pay attention to the meeting with Xi. Your thoughts on Xi?
Yeah, watch the signals that come out of China. If China's signals are tepid, that's very good. If China tries to reinforce the no limits partnership and is waving that all around, that'll be not so good. But it's not just China. Like, you got to look at all the stands, like all the stuff that gets to them through sanctions goes through Kyrgyzstan and all the other stand countries. Like I was showing, I was showing that the connection between the Czech Republic alone and Kyrgyzstan was 2,700% higher than it was before the war. Well, you know, those components are going right there and then right into Russia, and
no question,
that's how they're evading sanctions.
It's like
China has to be a little more careful about that, but just listen to the language afterwards and see if it is fully backing. We're partners. We're right behind them. We're backing their play, or if it is more lukewarm.
So you're saying even economic partnership that's like we have a warm economic relationship. We're not so much on the war side, but the economic, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, just listen to how friendly they sound, and that will signal what's really happening.
We'll watch
when
it.
China wants to be icy, they signal icy, and when they the rest of the time they try to sound neutral, or they try to sound like a buddy, and you can kind of see where they are and see what happens with that. I'll be listening very carefully to what they have to say.
And make sure you see that I'm sure it will be one of the 3 or 4 top stories here the next day or so on Professor Gertis's channel. Those of you in here tonight from Professor Gertis' channel, thank you for being here. Last 2 things we're going to show you, and we're done. You're going out with a smile tonight. It's been a tough update, but I'm leaving you with a smile. 541 viewing right now. Those of you that have not liked the stream, myself included, on the way out the door, make sure you hit the like button or leave a comment after. It really helps us. It just helps to get the message out more. I'm getting so many more people that are commenting saying, hey, just discovered you in my feed. It just popped up. Where have you been? And those are nice to see. And I don't know about you, Professor Gertis, but it's refreshing as a content creator, you a supporter, to get those new comments, to know that at least the message is being spread a little bit. So,
well, and you've been growing by leaps and bounds. You were at 3,000 and change when we were first talking in December, and you're at 11,000 and change now. So that's
moving,
growing fast. Yeah.
Yep. Well, thank you. You are a big help in that, as well as all the others. And I don't want to start calling names. It's all of them. So we're all a big team and big family standing for what's right. So as that, let's smile as a family tonight. Now, before we smile, I meant to this. Blinken unannounced visit to Kyiv, but in his post-op press conference, he said, Ukraine, you need to mobilize. The defenders, quoting now, who have been holding this front for more than 2 years require help and need a rest. Mobilization is what helps you strengthen the defense. Right out of Blinken, standing in Kyiv. So it's the story, guys. So Zhenya sent this to me. Here's the smile, guys. I know you're looking at that going, okay, Greg, I can't read that Ukrainian stuff or Russian stuff. Okay, first of all, that's Russian language. This is a table set up outside Russian Orthodox Church in one of the cities there in Russia. On the left, I'll give you the translation, but basically it is funeral services for the military. And on the right, it is get a contract and join the military. Okay, so here's translated. Funeral service of the deceased. Price for the funeral service, 6,000 to 7,000 rubles. Funeral service in absentia. Price for the funeral service, the deceased in absentia, 1,000 to 2,000 rubles. And to the right, join the military under a new contract. Last thing for a smile. On the northern border of Ukraine and the southern border of Russia, there are many foreign nations there fighting for Russia. They have many contracted soldiers from Africa and Asian nations. I'm going to show you now and translate a little bit of it, of some Russian soldiers instructing this unit from Nepal where to shoot. This is you have to see this. Here you go. I'll translate what needs to be translated. This is north of Kharkiv.
Okay, training.
Oh, we're training.
Fire,
Shoot that way?
this side. Okay,
They're laughing at them. This is a Russian trench.
А кто старший, я не пойму.
Okay, who is the guy in charge of these dudes?
Старший кто?
Who is the guy in charge? So it's the Russians meeting the guys from Nepal there.
Only English.
Maybe we can speak English.
English.
English? No.
А вас что, блядь, тут четвером, блядь, пятером кинули вас? Охуеть. Тебя переводчика нету?
You guys don't have an interpreter? No. Maybe we can talk a little bit.
Да.
So, which way is Russia and which way is Ukraine? He says, look here. So here's the line. This is the border. That's Russia to the north.
So,
That way is south. That's Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Oh, Ukraine's that way. So listen, if the sun is behind you, shoot the other direction. Don't ever shoot toward the sun. Just shoot the other way. Don't shoot that way. Never. Only shoot that way. Only there.
Туда? Yeah.
Okay. You can't make that stuff up, folks. You
Well,
can't.
with those kind of instructions, you got to wonder how the 3-week thing didn't work.
Only shoot that way. You mean over there? Listen, the first question was after the commander said, who's their leader? And you do have an interpreter? And the one Nepalese goes, which way's Russia and which way's Ukraine? So there you have it, guys. It's been a tough update, but there's a good smile for you. And make sure the sun's at your back. So there we have it, Prof. Thank you for being here. I know you were not going to be here as long, but it was really good update, and hope you guys enjoyed it. For the super chats, thank you guys as always. For the coffees, Vonries for the 10 super chat, dunk on you. For the 20 super chat, dunk on you. For the 10 gifted memberships, Goose Springsteen, welcome to Engineer, born in the USA, Goose Springsteen. Then the $5, the £5 there, we answered about fortifications for you. Papa Dutch, $2. Glider bombs make no emissions. That's correct. How can you target what you can't detect? $2 Papa Dutch. $5 Papa Dutch. Looks like an avenue being created. That was back when we were looking at the pictures of the fortification, I believe. Goose Springsteen. Ukrainian government made a terrible decision not passing mobilization laws last year. That is correct. And Papa Dutch referring to the guns, deferred gratification. So I'm getting ready to go and die. I did survive last night, my training. I can tell you when I got home, it was a tough night, but woke up okay. Prof, thank you, buddy.
All right. You have a good one.
You guys have a good night. Thank you for being here. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. Jason Beddix, Patriots can't detect glide bombs. That is correct. Glide bombs are a problem. This is why the F-16s...
You have to go to the source.
You do. You have to go to the source and push them back. And you're not going to waste $1 million Patriot on a $10,000 glide bomb as well. Spartacus, I did get your email. Your flag's on the way. If there's a follow-up email, I'll check that. I unsub on all these greedy channels. That's not us. I know you're not talking about us or Professor Gertis. You're talking about channels that not supporting Ukraine. So support Ukraine, guys. Red Hammer. Greg, I like your longer streams. Cut out the gym. Well, if I cut out the gym, my wife and children are not letting me go back to Ukraine when the armored vehicles arrive because I have to be in shape, especially now that the war is a little tough. So, all right, you guys have a good night. We'll see you in 23 hours. Be blessed. Professor Gertis, thank you as always. Have a good evening.
Slava Ukraini.
Geroim Slava. And we definitely need your closing.
Thank you for being the kind of people that care about Ukraine.
Amen.
Слава Україні!